Boy.
Hi again, guys! Welcome to this documentary on how much progress has been made in public health up to 1875.
In another exploration into the depths of time, we will again be looking at public health in the 19th century.
Whoa! Yes, but this time I want to know about whether any substantial progress had been made. What had happened to things like water, diet, and attitudes, for example?
And that is what we are about to find out. Over to Peach 3 for more interesting factoids.
Oh, my silly peaches. Anyway, Victorian diet. Large-scale adulteration became possible in industrial societies. Reports and publications between 1830 to 1850 found oil, opium, sulfate of iron and alcohol, burned bones, chalk, ground stone, potatoes, clay and flour and bread, and sawdust, gravel, coal dust and pepper and other spices. First proper government attention on the subject was 1855, which led to a series of 3 acts from 1855 to 1875, which tried to encourage local authorities to investigate and regulate food adulteration. The implementation of these acts was too haphazard, fines were too small, and the acts were too permissive. Okay again, guys. Industrial pollution in the Victorian era. Edwin Chadwick's report made a start. It argued for the importance of adequate waste removal and management facilities to improve the health and well-being of the city's population. But whoops, a hindering factor. The growth of industry meant that coal fumes mixed with the Thames Valley and created a mist known as pea supers. Deaths were common as a result of the effects of pollution on weakened lungs. Seen as necessary to prosperity, the government was unwilling to stop industrial growth. Pollution was viewed as a necessary evil. And finally, the 1875 Public Health Act restricted industrial pollution, but manufacturers found a loophole that excused furnaces that are constructed from manufacture or trade. Oh hey there, guys! Personal hygiene in the Victorian era. There was a move to build more public facilities with the Baths and Washhouses Act of 1846, but these buildings were expensive and the Act overall was ineffective. Only 3 public baths had been built by 1859. Hindering factor! Up until 1853 there was a tax on soap which shows attitudes towards health. Cleanliness was nowhere near a right, it was only for those who could have the means to afford it. Overcrowded conditions, dirty manual jobs and lack of running water meant it was impossible for the poor to maintain cleanliness. Hygiene was a privilege and indeed a symbol of the rich. It was only for those who could afford it.
Yo, that's some cool knowledge! But there is more that influences progress up to 1875, and one of those key factors are the government and their organisation, or lack thereof. Up to this point, and beyond it arguably, the government has taken a laissez-faire attitude, but several acts and individuals have changed this standpoint for the good of improving public health in Britain. One of the first acts were the 1831 to 2 Cholera Acts. Despite these being temporary and, not very good, it was some acknowledgement from the government that cholera outbreaks had to be dealt with. It was thought that these were caused by miasmas from filth on the streets. A more prominent influential action plan came when the 1848 Public Health Act was passed.
You're simpatico.
Although the 1848 Act was permissive, local boards of health and a general board of health were established.
Yes, Rebecca, it shows attitudes moving away from laissez-faire, which was the first constitutional act to do so. Another factor that helped to change attitude is the key individual, Joseph Bazalgette.
Bazalgette?
No peeps too, Bazalgette! Ha ha! He helped to remove the stench by building the first complex system of sewers. This meant he provided an argument against the miasmic theory, but unfortunately he was yet to substantially change attitudes. Another important act was the 1858 Public Health Act. Effectively abolishing the General Board of Health does prove that the 1848 Act was not a huge success. However, it shows the government are willing to progress and amend their mistakes.
Tell me more, did he put up a fight?
No! In fact, all these acts were accumulated together to produce the compulsory 1875 Public Health Act. On the other hand, this progress was overshadowing the fact that the Act was based on lots of old acts, so nothing new was created. But, on the other hand, as I just said, it was showing that the government were committing to a compulsory act that, although would inevitably receive resistance, was a key development in public progress because it was a significant development in government organisation.
What about Louis Pasteur?
What? Yes. In 1861, Louis Pasteur had made the decision of the key discovery that germs cause disease. What? Whoa! However, this was not accepted before 1875, probably because of religion and the strong, long-lasting belief that miasmas cause disease.
Yeah, that's someone telling me that peaches aren't a human being. The period of time between 1830 and 1875 was littered with acts hoping to cleanse the country from cholera, clutter and crowded cities. A focal point of these acts was dealing with the sewage situation. Bazalgette was the answer to the sewage prayers. He was enlisted in 1856 to build sewers all across London. This would solve the problem of overflowing sewers. Perfect. Changes were also happening in the north. The Liverpool Sanitary Act of 1846 granted councils the ability to improve both sewers and water supplies. Fab. Another major plus for the progression of water was John Snow's 1870 advances in medical exploration into waterborne diseases, particularly with the removal of the Broad Street pump handle. Nice one, John. You'd a bomb. Looks like Britain, pre-1875, was housing many public health issues. Speaking of housing, the first major move towards better living conditions was the 1866 Sanitary Act, which allowed councils to demolish slums. Nuisances. But because the Act was only permissive, it wasn't widely accepted. Bomber? Later in 1868, government once again tried to improve living conditions through the Artisans and Labourers Dwelling Act, which banned back-to-back housing. No. They could use the authorities' funding to pay rate to replace housing, but only a minority of the places actually used the Act as the effort and cost involved was too great. Oh no! Peach 2.
Peach 3.
Peaches!
Yes. Visual kicks. Jack Nugget. You might hear me like Wilson, 'cause I love summer, no Rachel Wilson. The winter will come, we just can't parties inside.
On one hand, this program doesn't have it.
We're rowdy, girls make a judgment cloudy, but when the sun comes out, we're still
Particularly,
we don't wanna be
no, stop.